When my friend John died, it hit me a lot harder than I expected, and it ended up changing a significant part of my life. He was incredibly fit. He was a black belt in, I think it was in Taekwondo, maybe karate, but he ate very healthily, he exercised regularly, he was very sound of mind and body. But immediately upon hearing of his passing, I felt compelled somehow, for some reason, to pick up my camera, which I hadn't touched in a very long time. I'd sort of let my photography go by the wayside as I pursued all these other things. And it was kind of inexplicable to me why I felt compelled to pick up that camera. But I jumped in my four-wheel drive and I headed out to the landscape, about 45 minutes from my home, in an area of rolling hills, full of kangaroos, just peaceful and quiet. And I immediately felt like I was home again. That I'd invested so much of my energy and so much of my time in pursuing things that I thought were going to last, but didn't. That I felt immediately back to that state of mind I had when I was a young kid holding a camera, looking out across the landscape, thinking, I'm capturing something here that nobody will ever see again like I'm seeing it. This moment in time, this moment in history, despite the fragility of life, despite the impermanence of it, this is permanent, what I'm capturing here. This will always be a moment that I captured, even if nobody else sees it, and it's something that I can hold on to. And so it was profound in that sense. So profound, in fact, that I don't know why I got this idea, maybe because of my daughter, my younger daughter, who'd been quite successful on YouTube as a makeup artist. I thought I need to share this with people. I need to show people just how powerful and healing this can be, just going outside with a camera out into the landscape. And recording those videos became a great source of satisfaction for me. And the catharsis continued. But it forced me to confront some things, some issues which I now realize are more important than the wealth that I pursued and the material, superficial things that I lusted after all those years. Things like, we don't have time to wait. We don't know when our last day will be. I mean, this could be my last day right here talking to you. Who knows? Maybe this video will never get uploaded because this could be my last day. I've had this pain around my abdomen for weeks now, and I just went and got a blood test and an ECG a couple of days ago, and I'll hear about the results of that on Monday. And, you worry about stuff like that when you're my age. I'm 57. You just don't know, is this going to be the one thing that's going to sort of start a whole sequence of events that will lead to my demise? You just don't know. So it forced me to confront the fact that we don't have time to wait. We need to go and pursue the things that light us up, that give us joy, that make us feel like we're doing something with a purpose behind it, to give our lives depth and meaning and substance. It also reminded me, how much relationships matter. In hindsight now, I could have made more of an effort to speak to John more often, to travel across to Perth, 3,500 kilometres away, and spend some time with him rather than waiting for him to come over to Melbourne. It also reminded me how valuable our energy is, and it can be, destroyed so quickly. Most of us men, when we get a cold or a flu, we're just hopeless. We're hopeless and we're helpless. And, that's just a cold or a flu. But when we're struck down by something serious, that can be the end of it. From then on, that the energy that we once knew, that we once took for granted, that could be over. And we could spend the rest of our lives managing the symptoms of something which has taken hold on us. And it also reminded me that work needs to serve our life. Work is not a suitable replacement for life. Now, I know that a lot of people find a great deal of satisfaction and meaning and purpose in their work, and I certainly understand that. Some of it is, from me as an outsider judging, looking in, is entirely justified. There are so many people there who do profound work, who do meaningful work, and it doesn't need to be grand. It doesn't need to be operating on children. In the Royal Children's Hospital, it could be something as seemingly insignificant as making people feel seen, making people feel appreciated, giving people temporary respite from whatever it is that troubles them. That's why movies are so powerful. That's why music is so powerful, because it allows people to transcend their current circumstances and enter another world, if only for a while. So in this very simple video, I guess the key things that I want to get across to you is that it's so important that you do the things you've been delaying. The things that you've been wanting to do that are important to you. They don't need to be important to anybody else. You don't need to explain them to anybody else. But if they're important to you, if it's something as simple as just going out here, into the landscape and pointing your camera at a sunset and taking a photo, you need to go out and do that, because you don't know when something will happen where you can no longer do that thing. You need to, strengthen the relationships that matter to you, and be very vigilant and militant about the ones that matter to you, and dispense with the ones, or minimize the ones that don't. Because I often look at it this way: who's going to be in the hospital when I'm full of tubes, gasping my last? Who's going to be there? Is it going to be the admin girl from the office? Is it going to be my boss? Is it going to be my clients? Probably none of those people. It's probably going to be the one or two friends that matter to me. It's going to be my family. It might be one or two people who I've had an impact on, who I've helped. And hopefully I'll be able to do that. Another thing I'm a strong advocate for is eliminating any kind of obligation that drains you, that saps your energy unnecessarily, where the outcome does not justify the sacrifice. We have to be very vigilant about this sort of stuff at our age. Between 40 and 70, these are sort of like the danger years. They can be the greatest years of your life, as attested to by my dad, who's now 89 and still fit as a scrub bull, and chops wood and climbs mountains and rides a motorbike and travels. But not everybody is so lucky. So it's very important that we just eliminate things that drain our energy, that we can't justify. And the last thing, which is really the key message of everything that I'm doing on this channel, is we need to define, engage with, and execute on our version of Act 2. We need to make some decisions. We need to possibly learn a few things, and we need to take action on it, because nobody's going to do it for us. I've read so many comments on this channel since I started, and this channel is literally days old, but I think I've had probably between 500 and 1,000 comments already, and I've replied to almost every single one of them. There were one or two which were kind of vexatious and I didn't want to reply to them, but the vast majority of 99.9% of them have been powerful, enlightening, valuable, insightful, some of them heartbreaking, but all of them important. And I see so many men there who want to start their version of Act 2, who are desperate for it, who feel that it's overdue. Some of them can wait. Some of them have other obligations which need to take priority. Young families, careers that need to be cultivated in order to support their family. I totally get that. But there are others out there who've been beaten down for so long, who've been discouraged so many times, that they don't quite know where to start. And I say it all starts back, to when you were younger, to what really engaged you and excited you and, got you out of bed with a spring in your step in the morning. Things that you just couldn't wait to do every day. I think that's where it starts for most of us. If not, it's going to be something that we've done in our adult past that we used to love, but we no longer do, or haven't been able to do because of other things. But more often than not, I think it tends to trace all the way back to when we were younger. Just like when you see a psychiatrist or a psychologist, so often they go back to your childhood because that's where the clues are. So anyway, I'll wrap this up by saying that for me, the loss of John and the grief that I felt over his departure gave me clarity. And that clarity gave me direction. And that direction put me in front of thousands of people. I think now millions of people, through my work on my blogs, my podcasts, and my YouTube channel, just before I started this one, Act 2. And now it's putting me in front of literally thousands of people here on Act 2. And my only wish is that I can be useful and that I can make a difference to some people. So I'll be doing my level best to do that. The only question that remains is, what will be your Act 2? Anyway, thanks for watching. there are going to be a lot more videos coming, hundreds probably, where I hope to offer practical advice on how I have navigated this stage of my life, what I plan to do in the future, how others have been navigating it, and some of the pitfalls that I recommend you be alert to, and the exciting things that you have to look forward to, and how to get there. There will be plenty of how to, I promise. This won't all just be a bunch of philosophical rambling by some old prick sitting in his car. Anyway, thanks for watching. I hope to see you in the next video. Bye for now.